she's going to be going away, and it's going to change the dynamic in our house so much, that she's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And
Country music star Tim McGraw collapsed on stage during a performance in Ireland last night. His wife, Faith.
Is this the end of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's iconic love story? For years, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill have been the picture of true love. From chart-topping duets to raising a beautiful family, their bond seemed unbreakable. But now, shocking news has fans asking, is something heartbreaking tearing them apart? What's really going on behind closed doors? Stick with us as we dig into the truth behind the headlines, exploring the heartache, the hope, and the unbreakable bond that holds Tim McGraw and Faith Hill together, even in the face of unimaginable sorrow. For over 2 decades, Tim and Faith have been more than just music royalty. Their voices, intertwined in breathtaking duets, have told stories of love, passion, and unwavering devotion. Offstage, their marriage has weathered the storms of fame, raising 3 daughters while holding on to the kind of love that seems rare in the glitzy world of show business. But now, whispers of a heartbreaking twist in their journey have fans holding their breath. How did it all begin? Was their love story always as perfect as it seemed, or was there trouble brewing beneath the surface? Let's start from the very beginning. Every great love story has a beginning, and Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's journey started long before the bright lights and sold-out arenas. Their paths couldn't have been more different, yet somehow fate brought them together. And when you look at where they came from, it's easy to see how those early years shaped the people, and the couple, they would become. Tim McGraw was born on May 1, 1967, in Delhi, Louisiana, a small town where life was far from glamorous. His mother, Betty D'Agostino, raised him on her own after she and his father split up when Tim was just a baby. Tim grew up in a modest, working-class home, and his family struggled financially. His mother worked hard to provide for him, and they often lived in less than ideal conditions. For much of his childhood, Tim didn't know who his real father was. He was raised believing his stepfather, Horace Smith, was his biological dad. But at age 11, Tim discovered his birth certificate and learned that his real father was none other than Tug McGraw, a famous Major League Baseball pitcher. Talk about a plot twist. At first, Tug didn't want much to do with him, and that rejection left a mark. But instead of letting it break him, Tim poured his heart into something else, music. He taught himself how to play guitar while listening to country legends like George Strait and Merle Haggard. That guitar became his escape, a way to dream bigger than the small town he grew up in. And while he eventually built a relationship with his father later in life, it was those early years of struggle that gave Tim McGraw the grit and passion we see today. Tim attended Nelson High School in Start, Louisiana, where he wasn't exactly a star athlete or class president. He was just another kid trying to find his way in the world. It wasn't until his college years at Northeast Louisiana University, now the University of Louisiana at Monroe, that he began to seriously pursue a career in music. There, he joined the university's band and started performing in local clubs. On the other side of the tracks, about 300 miles away in Ridgeland, Mississippi, a little girl named Audrey Faith Perry was living a very different life. Born on September 21, 1967, Faith was adopted at just 2 weeks old by a couple named Ed and Ted Perry. The Perrys were a devout Christian family, and they raised Faith in a strict household that emphasized religion, discipline, and hard work. From a young age, Faith showed a natural talent for singing. She often sang in the church choir, and her love for music was nurtured in that environment. But she didn't want to just sing at church, she dreamed of a life beyond the small town of Ridgeland. Faith had a vision for something greater. Faith Hill had a vision for herself that stretched far beyond the Mississippi border. As a teenager, she attended McLaurin High School, where she excelled academically and quickly became known for her incredible singing ability. But what truly set her apart was her deep love for country music. She was deeply inspired by icons like Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, and Emmylou Harris, women whose powerful voices and stories stirred something within her. By the time she was in her teens, that dream of a music career was impossible to ignore. Faith was the kind of young woman who believed that if you wanted something badly enough, you didn't wait around, you went out and got it. No excuses. So, at just 19 years old, she packed her bags, left her quiet hometown behind, and drove to Nashville with nothing but hope and determination, chasing a future that seemed like a million miles away. Here's the wild part, Tim and Faith's early lives couldn't have been more different. Yet, despite their separate beginnings, they shared something powerful, a hunger for something more. Both knew what it felt like to be out of place, to crave a life beyond the one they were born into. And maybe that's exactly why, when their paths finally crossed, it felt like fate. Sometimes the most unforgettable love stories begin in the most unexpected ways. For Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, those humble beginnings were just the first chapter of something far greater. So, how did these two dreamers meet? Let's rewind. Their first encounter wasn't some sweeping, movie-like moment. It was, in fact, pretty casual. It happened in 1994 at a Nashville event, where both artists were making waves in the country music scene. Tim was already beginning to receive national attention for his rising success, while Faith was slowly but steadily building her name. They crossed paths, exchanged a few polite words, and that was it. No sparks. No instant fireworks. At least, not yet. You know how they say timing is everything? Well, for Tim and Faith, that couldn't have been more true. Both of their careers were on the rise, and their lives were moving at full speed. But still, something was missing. Neither of them could have guessed that their love story was only just beginning. Fast forward to 1996. Tim invited Faith to join him on his Spontaneous Combustion tour as his opening act. And that's when the real magic happened. Here's where things got interesting. At the time, the
Faith
world
was
didn't know
engaged
it
to
yet,
music
but
producer
country
Scott
music had
Hendricks.
just witnessed the birth of one of
But
its
as the
most
tour went
beloved
on
and
and
she
iconic
spent more
power
time
couples,
with Tim, everything began
a
to
love
shift.
story
had officially begun. The
One
chemistry
that would
between them
capture the
became
hearts of
impossible to
millions
ignore
and
endure through decades of
Their
highs,
connection deepened
lows,
with each
and
performance,
everything in between.
each
late-night conversation,
But how
and
did
every
Tim
quiet
and Faith's
moment
relationship
backstage
withstand the intense pressures
Despite
of fame,
being in a committed
personal
relationship,
challenges,
Faith
and
couldn't deny
unexpected
what was
twists
happening
that life
between
threw
her
at
and
them?
Tim. To
The
truly
more they
understand
toured
the
together,
strength of
the
their
stronger
love,
their
we need
bond
to go
became.
beyond the headlines.
Love
Because
was
what
in the
came
air,
next was
and it
even
was
more
undeniable,
special,
their
stronger than
family.
either of them had anticipated.
Because, after all,
The real heart
eventually,
of Tim and
Faith's
Faith's
marriage
one of the
has always
hardest
been the
decisions
love they
of her
share
life.
for each other
She broke
and
off
for
her
their
engagement
children.
with Scott.
But how do you
It
balance
wasn't
having
easy,
incredibly
but deep
successful
down, she
careers
knew.
with raising a family?
Sometimes, when
it
know,
came to
you
having
just
children,
know. And
Tim
Tim
and
McGraw
Faith
was the
were
one
clear.
she wanted
They
to be
didn't
with.
want to just be country music
By
stars.
October 6,
They wanted to build a
1996,
home, a
Tim
life,
and Faith
and
were
a legacy.
completely in love and ready to
And
make
so,
it official.
the
next chapter of their
But
journey
instead
began
of opting
when they
for a
welcomed
grand,
their first
media-filled
child,
wedding,
Gracie.
the couple
into
chose
a
a
more
world.
intimate path. Gracie McGraw, they
Born
tied the
on May
knot in a
5th,
secret ceremony in
1997,
Rayville,
was their
Louisiana.
firstborn,
Surrounded
surrounded
only
only
by
by
close
child,
friends
she
and
marked
family.
a
major shift in Tim
It was
and
a
Faith's
quiet,
lives.
heartfelt moment.
Gracie
Far away
grew up
from
with
the
the knowledge
spotlight
that
her
her parents
parents
were
were
more familiar
superstars,
to them every
but they were
day. Always adamant about keeping her childhood as normal as possible. She spent her early years on the road with her parents, tagging along during tours, but they shielded her from the public eye as much as possible. Despite her famous lineage, Tim and Faith worked hard to ensure she had a childhood not too different from her peers. It wasn't long before Gracie developed an interest in the music world. Next came Maggie McGraw, born on August 12, 1998. While Gracie gravitated toward the stage, Maggie found her passion in a different area: environmental activism. She's deeply dedicated to the cause and has devoted much of her time to raising awareness about environmental issues. It's clear that Maggie's heart beats for something bigger than herself. Finally, in 2001, Tim and Faith welcomed their third daughter, Audrey McGraw, born on December 6. Audrey has shown an interest in modeling and acting, and with her beauty and charm, it seems she has a bright future ahead of her in the spotlight. Now, here's the tricky part: raising kids while living in the spotlight is no easy feat. Between the awards, concerts, and constant media attention, it would have been easy for Tim and Faith to get caught up in the whirlwind of fame. But they were determined to keep their family life as normal as possible. Both Tim and Faith made a conscious effort to prioritize their family over their careers. In interviews, they've often said that the key to making it all work was simple communication and a shared commitment to their children. They didn't want their daughters growing up in the public eye too much, so they kept their private lives just that, private. They didn't flaunt their kids for the cameras. Instead, they made sure to carve out time for family dinners, trips, and simple moments that helped their girls feel grounded. Can you imagine being a mega celebrity and still trying to make every moment count with your family? It's not an easy job, but Tim and Faith made it look effortless. In many ways, their family-first mentality may be the reason their relationship has lasted so long. Because, through everything, they've always put their loved ones first. As we've seen so far, Tim and Faith's love story seemed like something out of a fairy tale, two stars finding each other and building a beautiful family. But even the most picture-perfect lives have their cracks, and for Tim and Faith, those cracks began to show in ways that shocked their fans. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, Tim McGraw's life started spiraling in a way that nobody expected. At the peak of his fame, he was battling addiction, something he kept hidden from the public eye for years. Behind the scenes, Tim was struggling. He had always been known as a strong, confident, and family-oriented man, but addiction had a grip on him that even his fame couldn't shake. As Tim's behavior became more erratic and his relationships with his loved ones began to strain, Faith Hill reached a breaking point. At one point, she reportedly gave him an ultimatum: get sober or lose everything, including his family. Talk about a wake-up call. In 2013, Tim decided it was time to make a change. He went sober, and he credits Faith with saving his life. Can you imagine the love and strength it must have taken for Faith to stand by him through that time, while also pushing him toward the transformation he so desperately needed? It took an incredible amount of strength for Faith to stand by Tim when he needed her the most. But just when it seemed like things were finally settling, another storm brewed in 2013. Rumors of infidelity began to surface. Speculation suggested that Tim had gotten a little too close to some of his female fans, and whispers about trouble in paradise started to spread. Let's be real, it's hard to escape rumors when you're constantly in the public eye. But Faith wasn't having any of it. She publicly dismissed the rumors, stating that their marriage was stronger than ever. But here's the question: how do you stay strong when everyone around you is trying to tear you down? Do you think Faith had reason to worry, or was this just another case of people trying to bring them down? Then, in 2015, another set of rumors began circulating, this time about Faith's appearance. Some tabloids claimed she had gone under the knife to enhance her looks, citing her changing appearance. It's crazy, right? People couldn't just let Faith age gracefully, they had to speculate that she was doing something to look younger or better. But Faith wasn't going to let that slide. She responded with grace, shutting down the rumors and explaining that her appearance was simply the result of aging gracefully and living a healthy lifestyle. Faith has always been open about her commitment to health, and this was just another reminder that aging doesn't have to mean changing who you are. Do you think there's too much pressure for a singer like Faith, young forever, whose voice was her lifeblood? Then came the infamous incident in 2014 when Tim was performing on stage, and a female fan would she ever be able to sing again at the level she was known for? In a split-second decision, she underwent surgery to correct the issue, but the concerns about her future the internet erupted in backlash. Can you imagine the fans thought it was inappropriate, while others defended this wasn't just about taking time off. It was a self-defense. This was about the fear of losing her ability to do what she loved to jump to Tim's defense, publicly stating it's hard that someone so passionate about their career to suddenly have to step back because of their health. But still, the controversy sparked a lot of debate. Would she come back? It's one of those moments where you'd have to decide, but Faith, do you stand by your partner no matter what? She came back stronger, the public backlash that experience would stay with her. Just after a year facing later, the storms of rumors and controversy, another shocking health scare were about to face something far more personal. During a concert in Ireland, would test their strength in ways no public from dehydration. This time, was visibly unwell, and the sight of him fainting in front of thousands of fans sent shockwaves. But when your own body starts betraying the world, it's a whole different kind of fight. But of course, Faith was right there. In 2017, she rushed to face a challenge that no one could have seen coming, and there was a collective sigh of relief to cancel several shows during their Soul to Soul tour. Still, the moment left fans shaken, wondering how the couple would handle yet another unexpected crisis. And Faith herself was shaken. This wasn't just about one bad show. It was about Tim's health, his life, and the uncertain future that lay ahead. Fast forward to 2023 and 2024, when reports began circulating that Faith Hill was battling a degenerative medical condition. For a family that had already faced so much, this news was gut-wrenching. Faith, who had always been the picture of health and vitality, began to withdraw from public appearances. Tim, in turn, reportedly scaled back his work commitments to be by her side. Can you imagine the weight of that? Faith's absence from the spotlight only fueled the fire of speculation. Some wondered if her health was the reason she'd pulled back, while others feared the worst. What no one expected, though, was the fallout from these health struggles. For years, fans believed Tim and Faith's love was unshakable, but even the strongest bonds can be tested. Could this be the moment everything changes? After years of standing tall in the spotlight, Tim McGraw made a heart-wrenching decision, one that no fan saw coming. In 2024, he announced he was stepping back from his music commitments, and the reason was clear: to be by Faith's side. For a man who had spent decades dominating the country music charts, walking away from it all wasn't easy. But when the person you love needs you, everything else takes a backseat. Tim's priority became crystal clear: Faith and their 3 daughters came first. No sold-out tour, no award, nothing mattered more than spending precious time with the people who meant everything to him. And while the world speculated, Tim quietly focused on what really mattered: being there for his family. But if you thought that was emotional, just wait. His farewell performance in 2025 was something no one will ever forget. The night was already charged with emotion, but when Tim took the microphone to deliver a tribute to Faith, you could hear a pin drop. With tears in his eyes, he dedicated "It's Your Love," the song that captured the magic of their early romance, straight to her. His voice trembled with raw emotion, and fans couldn't hold back their tears. It wasn't just a performance, it was a love letter, a public promise that no matter how tough things got, he wasn't going anywhere. Can you picture that moment? A packed arena, yet his heart belonged to just one person. Behind closed doors, though, life wasn't as picture-perfect. Faith's health continued to decline, and Tim's world became a balancing act, managing his career while being a rock for his family. Rumors swirled that Tim was preparing for the unthinkable, a heartbreaking goodbye. After everything they'd faced through the highs and the heartbreaking lows, one question lingered: will Tim McGraw and Faith Hill share the stage again? Fans are clinging to hope. After all, these two have a history of surprising us when we least expect it. Could there be one final unforgettable duet, a farewell performance that reminds us why we fell in love with their love story in the first place? Or has the curtain quietly closed on their time in the spotlight together? Rumors swirl about a possible public appearance, but neither Tim nor Faith has confirmed anything, and that silence speaks louder than words. Some fans believe they are simply protecting their privacy during a difficult time, while others fear that Faith's health might make a return impossible. Either way, the world is waiting, hoping for one last glimpse of the couple who made us believe in forever. Is this their final chapter, or will love conquer all? Because when it comes to Tim and Faith, one thing's for sure: it's never over until it's over.